Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Marie Holiday, and I hope everybody had a fabulous day today. Today is Thursday, November the 19th, 2020. And before we get started, I just want to thank all of my viewers and subscribers and potential subscribers for supporting my channel, following my channel. My channel is nothing without my viewers, subscribers, audience. And with that being said, just remember, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and let's get down to business. The focus of this lecture is I'm going to introduce what is the late stage of addiction. What is the late stage of addiction? This is part 3 of my lecture series. Check out my other 2 prior videos I did an upload on the early stage of addiction. I did an upload on the middle stage of addiction, and today will be the upload on the late stage of addiction. So with that being said, let's get down to business. First of all, I want to share with the audience some indicators of late stages of addiction. And again, I do want to remind the audience that I am a licensed clinical addiction specialist. I am credentialed in 3 different states. I'm qualified to assess and treat people with alcohol addiction, drug addiction, and gambling addiction. I've been in the field for over 20 years, holding the credential. So I just want to let the audience to be aware of that. And I'm going to present this information in everyday language. So here we go. With indicators of late stages of addiction, the person will begin to have tremors and shakes. And when a person uses so much alcohol or drugs, and as the alcohol or drugs metabolize out of the person's body, they at times will begin to feel tremors, shakes in the hand or all over the body. And what a lot of times when people have those symptoms, they will consume more and more of the alcohol or drugs to ease the symptoms of the tremors and shakes. So when they get to that point, that is a clear indication of late stages of addiction. Another indicator is the person will drink or use other drugs in the early morning. They will drink or use other drugs early in the morning, as it's literally from the moment when they wake up. They are consuming some type of alcohol or drugs. Another indicator of being in a late stage of addiction is the person will begin to feel sad more and more of the time, because excessive alcohol and drug use depresses the body. It really does over time. And the person will begin to feel sad more and more often in the late stages of addiction. Another indication is the person will have long binges of using alcohol or other drugs. They will have long binges of using alcohol or other drugs. Sometimes they'll go on, it may have initially in the middle stages have been a 2 or 3 day binge, but now that 2 or 3 day binge has now escalated to 5-7 day alcohol or drug binge. In the late stages of addiction, another indicator is the person can't think clearly anymore, because over time, excessive alcohol and drug use will begin to impair the person's cognitive thinking skills. In addition, another indication of the late stages of addiction, we will begin to see lose tolerance for the use of alcohol or drug use. The person will lose tolerance for the use of alcohol or drug use. And let me explain that. In the earlier stages of addiction, the more and more of the alcohol or drugs a person uses, tolerance goes up over time. They slow down on use, tolerance drop. But in late stages of addiction, what we will see and what we call it in the field of addiction is an unpredictable tolerance. And what they mean by unpredictable tolerance, sometimes the person can use a whole lot, but tolerance goes down. Because remember, as use go up, tolerance is supposed to go up. When use go down, tolerance go down. But in the late stages of addiction, sometimes they can use a whole lot, but tolerance still drop. And the reason why that's happening, because the organs are no longer metabolizing the alcohol or drugs like it once did. So that's when that's an indication of being in the late stages of addiction, when sometimes the person can use a whole lot, but tolerance goes down. Or sometimes they can use a little bit and it wipes them out. And that's an indication of unpredictable tolerance that we see in the late stages of addiction, which is not a good thing. Because if the body is no longer, if the organs are no longer metabolizing the alcohol or drugs, then what's happening is when they consume alcohol and drugs, the alcohol or drugs now is remaining inside of the body, affecting all the other organs inside of the body versus metabolizing out. Another indication of late stages of addiction is the person will begin to feel generally afraid more and more. They beginning to feel more afraid more and more, because inside of them they recognize that the excessive alcohol or drug use is having a toll on the mental health, the physical health, emotional health all around. In the late stages of addiction, we'll begin to see the person at this point cannot work, because the alcohol or drug use has become so severe. It has an impact on the mental, the physical, the family, the finances, etc. Another indication of late stages of addiction is the person's physical health will begin to deteriorate more rapidly. They may have been diagnosed with certain alcohol and drug related health problems, because diabetes can be caused by excessive alcohol and drug use. High blood pressure can be caused by excessive alcohol or drug use. Cirrhosis of the liver, bleeding ulcers, certain forms of cancer. More standards are lost in the late stages of addiction, because as people begin to become more desperate to do things that are against their values and belief in order to get money to feed that addiction. So in the late stages of addiction, moral standards are lost in the late stages. In the late stages, another indication is that because the person's use has been out of control for so long, they may be admitted to a hospital or to a treatment program to get help. In the late stages of addiction, another indication is loss of family and friends, because the alcohol and drug use has been excessive, along with the high-risk behavior, and that can result in loss of family and friends. And another indicator of the late stages of addiction is the person will run out of excuses for using alcohol or other drugs. They will literally run out of excuses to use excessive alcohol or drugs. Because in the early phases, in the middle phases, the person may say, well, because I'm working hard, or I'm working all these long hours, or I'm stressed out, that gives the person an excuse to use alcohol or drugs. But in the late stages of addiction, they're going to begin to run out of excuse to continue to use the excessive alcohol or drugs. So ladies and gentlemen, I have just presented the late stages of addiction. Please check out my prior videos where I did an upload on the early stage of addiction, in the middle stage of addiction, and I'm going to do an upload later on this week on what late stages of addiction look like. So with that being said, I hope the audience got a lot out of this. Simplify, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and I will see the audience again next time. Have a great day.